Hey, it's time to crank up the truth. I'm Val Selby, and over the decades of working online, I've learned a most important lesson. Mindset owns your business. If procrastination, imposter syndrome, and a lack of focus have been blocking your biz, then I'm here with Val Full Volume, ready to help you see choices that you're making. Get ready to own your personality and use your expertise to create the business of your dreams. Now is the time to make changes and live your best life. So let's get to it. Hi, everyone. So it's been a while since I've had a guest on here, and I know you're going to be super excited for this conversation. So listen on in, grab a drink, let's hang out. I have Shana Pennington-Baird on here, and we are going to talk about who knows what, because there's a lot of stuff on her form that we can talk about. And she's local to me, which I always think is just super exciting to have somebody that's local to me. Shana, thank you for being here. So Shana's from brokenwideopen.com. We'll have all the information, of course, for you to go find out more information when you do connect with her. But we're going to have an interesting conversation here because we're going out from what the normal female entrepreneurs are doing into this new realm. And I'm just excited for this conversation. So thank you for being here, Shana. And
thank you.
You wouldn't mind telling my listeners a little bit about yourself, that'd be great. I hate when I say that a little bit myself. You tell my listeners whatever you want them to know.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on the program. I hail from just outside Seattle, Washington, in a suburb called Burien, Old Burien. I've lived here about 25 years, and I am a performer turned audiobook narrator turned voiceover actor, and I also own my own business, couple of businesses. But the big one is Seattle Voice Academy. And that's the female entrepreneurial stuff where about 7 years ago, we wanted better quality training for singing and for voiceover, and we wanted it to be really focused on women. And so I started a company where we taught in person in Georgetown. For the longest time, we had studios, had a piano there. We're able to teach people to come in. And then the pandemic hit and we did not close. We called it snow days. And for the people who live in the Seattle-ish area, they know that when the word snow comes up, everyone freaks out because it's a 4-letter word. Yeah. Oh God. And for good reason, because there's hills here. And so if it snows, people the cars slide off the hills without people being in them. That happened this year with ice. Yep. So that's why no one goes anywhere. So I was like, okay, guys, it's snow days until further notice. And I about 9 people on staff. Guess what? We are still in snow days until further notice because we discovered that we were teaching just as well online and more people and people all over the world. And that was really cool. And so we didn't stop. So we're still doing that. We're not in person. We're going to do some in-person retreats, like in the mountains of Washington this summer. I think we're going to go out to the coast in the fall. And those are fun, but the bulk of what we do now is through Zoom. It's online. It's doing a really good job doing that.
It's so Seattle wonderful Voice Academy. How we've switched.
And then my other world is I'm a voice artist. My other company is Shana Pennington-Baird Voice Artist, LLC. And that is doing animation and corporate work and narrating commercials. And I have 3 agents, and I spend about half my day down here just talking to myself in a padded room, which I think everyone should have the opportunity to do. Oh, it's kind of awesome. So this morning, today is going to be a little bit about Bitcoins. I don't really know much about Bitcoins, but they pay me in hard cash, so it's fine. I need to do something for corporate. There's a script that's come in, and then I've got pickups for an animated series I'm on. So every day is a little bit different, and that's literally just me. And then I have a virtual assistant who helps. I have an accountant who helps, and I have a business coach that keeps that all buttoned together. And then the third thing is a show I wrote because when I did this, well, not so much Seattle Voice Academy, but the other one, The Voice Artist, I love traveling to work on my craft. And oftentimes I will find opportunities all over the world to do this. Because we need to get out of our padded boxes. And so seeing ourselves in person, this is back in 2019. So before the pandemic, there was this cool conference in Scotland, it was Ireland, it was in Dublin. And I was like, oh, dude, I can't go to Dublin by myself. I got to take my family or my husband who is of Scottish descent will kill me or divorce me. And so he and Maddie got to come with me and we went to Iceland and Scotland and Ireland and we spent 2 weeks and I felt great. And we had so much fun. We hiked, we did all this stuff. We had colds, no big deal.
Right.
And they flew home, and I had 3 days by myself in the wilds of Ireland to have like the best time ever. And so I drove across this, they called it a mountain pass. Yeah.
I know, right?
Like a speed bump. But anyway, I got to the town and I pulled into my Airbnb and nothing was okay. I started sweating buckets. All the color sucked out of the world. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not normal. I'm going to get my phone. So I got my phone. Thankfully, I had Wi-Fi. Thank God. How do you dial emergency services? It's 999. So I dialed 999. And about 22 hours later, they saved my life. It was a 14-hour open heart surgery because I had what's known as a AAA dissection. So my aortic aneurysm that I didn't know I had, it ruptured. Aortic aneurysm. And so most people don't make it. The doctor, the surgeon, beautiful woman. She was like 6 foot tall, blonde, amazing woman, 14-hour surgery. She said she didn't expect me to survive the ambulance ride to the hospital.
Right.
Or the surgery.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, though, in Ireland, it's great because they don't tell you what's wrong with you, which is great. Here in the States, they'd be like, oh my God, sign all these forms. You almost died. But,
right.
but in Ireland, they were like, oh, you're grand. Do you want some tea?
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
I didn't think there was anything wrong with me other than I knew I had a scar on my chest and they had shaved my bikini area. And all I could think of was, oh my God, that's going to itch. Like that was my whole mentality for like 12 hours was, can we get something for the itching?
Yeah.
And so I didn't get depressed or scared. I just stayed very calm. Which we could all learn from that in the States. Oh my gosh. So I never knew until, and then 4 hours in the ICU, or 4 days in the ICU, staring at cows when they would turn me around, watching hurling. If you don't know what hurling is, not curling, that's the ice and the rocks. No, hurling, it's not throwing up. It's a really important sport in Ireland where they try to beat each other with sticks and there's a ball somewhere. But it was really fun to watch in the ICU next to the other guy who didn't die either. And so anyway, 4 days later, my husband shows up. He had to fly back. My daughter stayed at home. She was 8 at the time. Oh. And I was in Ireland for 4 more weeks.
Wow.
Because they don't let you fly. I missed the voiceover conference. I didn't get to go. Yeah. And the good news is I just kept getting better. And so it took them maybe, I think it was 2 weeks before they told me what happened. Wow. And by the time we flew home, I was cold sometimes. I had, it's hard to walk around a lot. I was getting some exercise, not a ton, but I wasn't really freaked out until I got home. I had 2 infections in my chest. It was hurting. Yeah. So I ended up at Virginia Mason Hospital in Seattle. Yeah. And then they're like, what the hell happened to you?
Right.
And then I finally got to where I was like, hey, Ben, can you hear their story and then tell me and translate later so I don't panic? Yeah. And that was the first time I was in a room all by myself, too, because in Ireland, you're with 4 other people. And the whole Ireland thing felt like a slumber party, which is why I wrote a show called Broken Wide Open. And it's actually funny. And it's not a bad time because I stopped the show by the time I get back to Virginia Mason when all the Americans are like, oh, my God. So
right. Too much reality. Yeah, that's not funny anymore.
All that happened right before the pandemic. So by the time we slid into the pandemic, I was like, everyone's freaking out. I'm like, yeah, I've already been freaked out. Welcome to my world.
I already got this. I already died and came back. It's okay.
Yeah. So I actually was pretty calm during all of the pandemic. And I did finally get COVID from Switzerland last September. And I was fine. Knock wood, all that stuff. And I had done all the vaxxing, all of that, triple maxing, all the masking. But the good news is that so much had become better that my risk level was lower, right?
Nice.
Anyway, that's where I am today. That's all these years later. I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
No, so the really, gosh, I've got to find other words. It's not ironic. It's, of course, the conversation we're supposed to have right now. But the thing is, we're celebrating, recording right now. In 3 days is my dad's first rebirth party. Birthday is what I call it. A year ago, we had exactly the same thing. Didn't know what happened. And they're like, how are you even alive?
Yes. Yeah.
And so we did it in the American way. And it was a week of me in hell because I couldn't go see my dad. And so, I find it ironic that, of course, I looked at that and I went, oh my gosh, I never even put the correlation. Of course, we're having this conversation today.
Right.
Of course we are. Because I did look at it as a rebirth with him. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I realize that everything changed when you decided to have the really because he did get a choice. You didn't get a choice. I assume.
No. They were like, and unzip. They unzipped me, unplugged my heart,
Right.
zapped it with lightning and put it back in and rezipped me.
Right. He made the choice to go through the pain. So I'm always just like, thank you, Dad, for doing that. I know, blah, blah, blah. But I just find it really ironic. And the conversation also that I know lately in my head has been working through the chronic issues, because now it's a chronic issue.
Yes.
Like you said, it's not a disability.
It can be. A lot of folks with dissections end up with lots of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't we all have to deal with issues and make choices on what are we going to do?
Yeah, every day.
Do we want to wallow in it or do...
Yeah, when something that major happens, though, something, at least for me, for sure for me, also for my friend who was a comedian in Seattle who got hit by a car. He's fine. But yeah, he had the same thing where it's like, oh my God, I almost died. Those of us who've come close, we go, oh, you know what? Our priorities just rearranged. That hangnail, it really doesn't matter. Oh, that thing we have to do on Sunday, I'll just tell him I can't go. There's a huge reorientation of what is important and what is not important. And the minute you wake up, it's like, boom, these are the things that are important.
Yeah.
And it changes everything.
It happened to my dad, but of course, it's very connected to that. But I know it totally changed everything in the way I looked at my business, even. Like things that were on my list, all of a sudden I'm looking at it going, that does not matter to me anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
This is the direction I want to go. And it's not the like mean girl or anything, like nobody's getting in my way. It's just that there's like, no, that just doesn't matter.
Sometimes there's a priority shift. Yeah. So the little things that used to get us down, suddenly you go, you know what? I want to do this now. It's sort of like there's a great book called The 5-Second Rule. I can't think of who wrote it, but anyway, it's almost kind of like that, because you think, you know what? I'm alive today. I'm really glad to be alive today. That's my thought when I wake up for the last 3.5 years. Yeah. Hey, cool, I'm alive today. So when that's your baseline, you go, oh, hot coffee's the best. And you just, like, that could be your whole day. And you're like, I'm okay because I have soft sheets.
Yep.
Okay. And so the things that used to bug me, oh my God, I've got to lose 30 pounds. Well, that gets reshifted into, I'm going to get on the bike today and work out. Oh, wow, I can still cycle. What? Yeah. Oh, wow, I feel good. I don't have to feel skinny.
Yep.
So I had some big priorities shift. And then I'm on a lot of medicine. And it's very interesting because I sometimes go into the places on the social medias and I participate and or read some of the mental stuff that happens with the folks who haven't been maybe scared as bad.
Right.
Where they're like, oh my God, I have so much pain here, so much pain there. And I'm on the same drugs. And for whatever reason, I get some things for sure that they get, but I tend to get less. And it could be because I'm just not focused on it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to let that happen to myself. And so I think the power of suggestion, the power of mind, the power of suggestion really matters. Because I remember after I got back, I was in the hospital for double vision. Double vision's not really a good time. I was like, oh no, I'm dying. And it's just double vision. And so I got into the hospital and they gave me a CAT scan of my head this time, not just my chest, which had been irradiated many times. And and they were like, oh, so they come into the ER and they take me upstairs to the neurological ward and they start talking like this. And I was like, why are you guys talking like that? And I talk, as you can see, maybe very fast and I have a lot of energy naturally. And they were like, you've had 2 strokes on your right side. And I was like, what? How come I can snap with both hands? I can juggle. Give me 3 balls. I'm going to juggle for you. They're like, we don't know why you can move your left side. And I said, that's not helpful. You just freaked me out.
Right. Now my left side won't work. Thanks.
Thankfully, the left side kept working, but the power of suggestion, right? So it was fine. So they released me from the hospital. It was Thanksgiving of 2019 still. And I remember I got home and suddenly the lights, I read some stuff on the internet, which I recommend no one do. And I'm like, oh God, the lights are too bright. Oh no, I shouldn't drive. Oh no, I should never be alone. Right. Oh no. And for 4 days, I convinced myself I was a very sick woman. And then on Friday, I took a lift into the hospital because I couldn't drive, right? And we get there and again, they're doing that same very slow thing. I found out they are really quite gentle with stroke survivors. Okay. And so they lead me back here, put your coat here. I'm like, okay. So she walks in the room. She's like, she had me do all the tests. She goes, these strokes are old. We don't know when you had them. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? I suddenly feel, by the way, feel fine. And I'm like, what? So like, did they happen during the surgery? She's like, I don't know. They could have happened like 2 years ago. What?
Wow.
Wait, what? Wait, what? And that to me is like the galvanizing moment, I think, for the rest of my life, which was like, the power of suggestion is really a big deal. And if I tell myself I can't do it, I can't do it. And if I tell myself I can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And on the days when bad things do happen, I take it in stride and I go, okay. Because I do still get double vision. By the way, lots of us do who've been on bypass machines. The doctors are like, oh, no, it's not connected. Well, that's when social media is helpful. Oh, yeah? Well, about 100 of us have had it. So I'm thinking it is connected. Right. And it always goes away after about a minute and a half. It's all good.
So strange.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. So I have chronic stuff. Yeah, I got some chronic stuff going on. Thankfully, it doesn't get in the way of, well, I love voiceover because the first thing that happened after the dissection is they had me meet with the genetic folks here in Seattle. And they're like, here are all the things you can no longer do for a living. You cannot be a police officer. Well, I'm not one, so that's okay.
Yeah,
except for on TV, I can still voice one. And they're like, you can't be a wrestler. Well, okay, that's cool.
Crap.
I know, right? I'll just think, I apparently shouldn't scuba dive. Well, I was a hardcore diver, so that's a little tough. Okay, but I've done 1,200 dives. I've been underwater. We're good.
You retire it.
Yeah, and they were like, they basically said, don't let your heart rate get above 145. If you want to go on disability, most people do. And I was like, I'm a voice actor. I mean, yeah, when I do animation work, I've worn the heart rate monitor, not the heart rate, I've worn my blood pressure monitor while doing animation. Yeah, it gets up there. It does. Yeah. But it doesn't stay too long. And, I still cycle like crazy. I get a lot of exercise, mostly indoors, but I do cycle outside. I'm not supposed to crash. I'm on a lot of blood thinners. That's not really good for you. And I'm on all the medicines your grandparents are on.
Right.
But I feel good, and I'm living a very normal life, and I still do solo travel. That took some courage.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good meltdown one night in Switzerland, and then I was fine. I had that moment of, oh my God, I'm by myself.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was probably, I have occasional panic attacks that go away pretty fast. That was the first meltdown alone. My daughter went back to Ireland with me 2 years later. And having her there, it was so good. Yeah, that was actually the first one. We were in Dingle, in the town where it happened, staying not there, another place, to meet with the other people who'd helped me. And it was a morning. We were supposed to go see raptors and owls and everything that afternoon. And we she was still in bed. I climbed back in with her and I shook for 2 hours. But then was like, hey, we need to go play with owls. And she's like, yeah. And so we were fine.
Right.
Got back in the car and drove on the left. I always have to say that. Stay left, but not too far left.
I know. I couldn't imagine.
Drive left. So we played with owls and I was okay. And so when I went back to Switzerland last fall, that was a solo trip. And I had a couple days in Iceland by myself and a couple days in Switzerland by myself and then a group again. And then this coming week and a half, 2 weeks from now, I'll be in Mexico by myself for 2 days and then back at a conference. Again, I like being with the group. Always seems like a good idea, but I have the confidence to know what to do and what to take and all that stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and of course, I'm woo, so you don't want to tempt the universe, but it's just like, seriously, I survived that. So I do feel like I have the confidence to get through more, is what I assume. Yeah.
I just want to keep, I'm alive. So I would like to keep living. There are folks, and there was one of the genetics folks, they're like, oh, no, you really should just sit on the couch the rest of your life.
Oh, my gosh.
I was 45 when this happened.
Yeah.
I'm 49 now.
Yeah.
So, I said, okay, I won't scuba dive. And I'm pretty sure I shouldn't tell them about the roller coasters I was on last summer. But the way I do a roller coaster, if I choose to make that risk, I'm so calm during that roller coaster. Because I just don't let my blood pressure get high.
Yeah.
I looked over at my daughter, and I was like, this is what beta blockers are for, honey. I'm on the good drugs. Let's do this roller coaster.
Let's do it.
So my sense of humor, I think I had before all this stuff happened. And of course I woke up, with the sense of humor intact.
Yeah.
That's my safety line.
Yeah. I do agree. I mean, my husband's a firefighter, so we had inappropriate humor before that because we're high school sweethearts. My dad's a Marine. I grew up with inappropriate humor.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it was immediately the harassing and the sarcasm, right back into it. And I know for us that is our coping mechanism in a positive way because we're all that way.
I've sometimes had moments where I'm like, wow, am I really suppressing this with too much humor? Because
I know.
And then I go, I don't care. I'm having a good time.
Right.
It makes it okay for me. And if I can make all the doctors and nurses laugh too,
yeah,
as long as, not during surgery, but like there was a surgery where I was mostly awake. And she was like, just be quiet for a minute. Okay.
Right. Because you're like, oh, okay, I can't make everybody laugh. That would be really bad.
Let's not jiggle. Let's not jiggle right now.
Really bad for me to make everybody laugh. But I've really got to say this. I totally get it. And I totally get the whole conversation in your head of like, oh, should I analyze this more? Am I not? Should I be sad? I don't know. It's like, I don't want to be sad. So no, I don't want to be sad. It's okay.
And the therapy, I mean, it's been now 3.5 years since all that stuff happened. And the first thing I did when I got home is write down the story. Well, and what happened to create What Broken Wide Open was I picked up my daughter. She goes to school on Vashon Island. I have a sixth grader that I put on a boat every day.
Oh my gosh.
How weird is this? I put her on a boat with a bunch of other kids, and they all go to school on an island. That's really weird. And then I pick her up when the boat comes back. And I remember we were going to go to the mainland of the Olympic Peninsula just for like a two-night overnight. It was the first time traveling since it had happened. And so I still had a pretty huge scar, still had sternal precautions. And we went into the Vashon. Well, I went to pick her up, and I walked into the Vashon bookstore. And there was a book right there on the table, had a heart on it with all this electricity all around it. And I don't think I have it down here to read it. It's by Brian Doyle. And it was a book all about hearts. And it was the most beautiful poetry I'd ever read. I was like, I need to read that. That's sitting there for a reason. So I bought the book. And over the next 2 days, sobbed through it. Right. Because it's about his son. He had twins. And one of the boys was born with his heart upside down. And the passages in this book were so poetic and so beautiful and so therapeutic. That I was like, I need to write this stuff down. Not his stuff. It was like this. It just lit something on fire in me. I'm like, I gotta write down what happened. Yeah. Especially the jokes, because I had been workshopping all the funny stuff in every ER that I went to afterward. People go, what happened to you? And I just start working this material, and they would laugh. And I was like, well, that's a good joke. I need to keep that one. Right? Okay, well, that's another good joke. I should keep that one. So I remember I came home and I had my laptop, and I was like, write show. So I ended up contacting his publisher and got permission to use 2 quotes from the book in the show, which was beautiful. Oh my! And it's a hard monologue to memorize because it's so poetic and so beautiful and so profound. And then the music for the show, it was on the plane on the way home from Ireland. I have a good friend who's a musician in Belfast, and I'd presented her when I used to run a performing arts center. Her name is Kathy Ryan. And I was like, oh my God, Kathy's music. And some of her music came on, and one was called Carrick Reed. And Carrick Reed is a rope bridge that I had just crossed the day before my heart exploded.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, and I'm listening to this song going, oh my God, this song. I bet there's more. There was another one called The Farthest Wave. That's all about trying to get home. It's all about hearts. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I first I didn't know how to get hold of Kathy. So I reached out through other friends, thank God for social media, through Facebook, and I found the guy who used to produce her, who got me her email address, and I emailed her and said, Kathy, this is what happened to me. Can I use 5 of your songs? She's like, yes. And that's how it all sort of started happening. And so the whole thing was written by January when the pandemic happened. So it was January. The show was written. I sent it to a good friend, Yusuf El Gundy, who's a playwright of great renown. And I was like, I'm just going to send him my show. But he's a very, very good friend. And I was like, Yusuf, I know you get this a lot, but I need you to read this and tell me where it's at. How many more rewrites? And he emailed back, workshop it, do it now, live.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay. So with that wind under my wings.
Right.
Because sometimes you need that moment of just someone saying it's okay. And he did it at just the right moment. And so I called the musicians who I knew would be brilliant on this. One plays accordion, Robertson Widmer. He's amazing. Dave Pascal on bass. I mean, these are musicians I've known for 30 years. And I was like, hey, guys, let's do a show. And it was supposed to be live. It's supposed to be in the Seattle area. Maybe, this dream of taking it to Edinburgh Fringe Fest in Ireland. And I'm like, we just got to get it up and running. And so I sent everything to them, and the pandemic came down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. let's do it through Audible. I'm an audiobook narrator. And I was
Right.
like, we could just do this online for now and still do it live later. And they were like, yeah, we're in. So it was so fun during the pandemic to have a project where we were all mostly rehearsing, working solo. Occasionally we'd come together at Dave's studio, record some songs with musicians and just me, but we were all never in the same place for the show. And I recorded the whole thing here in my studio I'm in right now. David Koch directed it from his house. And then we premiered it almost exactly a year ago. It was like March 15th, 2022. And then it came out officially on Blackstone Audio, picked it up in June. And then this year, in like December, I was like, okay, everybody, let's do it live. And let's go to Ireland. Let's take it back where it's supposed to be. It'll be for the 4-year anniversary. We'll be there on those dates.
Oh.
So I'm gonna, probably shake for 2 hours one morning. But we're gonna, so 6 people going. And we're gonna end up going to the Fringe first. And the Fringe Festival, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, is thousands of shows all happening at the same time. It's insane. You walk down the street and you're like, how can this much theater be in one place?
Oh.
So we're not expecting big turnouts. We're expecting kind of meaningful turnouts. And then going to Ireland, that's a little different because we know lots of people who were involved.
Yeah.
So that's just fun because we can bring all the people who were there to see the show live. And again, get to do it live. Yeah.
I mean, the amazing thing is that, all along the way, and hey, everybody listening, we get signs. We're all getting the signs of exactly what we're supposed to be doing. It's just who's paying attention. But all along the way, you were getting the signs that, yep. And you took it and you jumped, like you just jumped with it.
And it was so healthy. That was my therapy.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend hours with a therapist, which I still could. I'm not opposed to it.
Right.
But the therapy was getting that story out on paper. Just dumping it all out. And then, because my husband, I didn't let him read it because he did not have fun. Neither did my dad.
Yeah, very different experience.
Time. You would know this. Yeah, Val, you'd understand because they're terrified for me. They get a phone call. They're in the aisle at Target buying new shoes for school.
Triggered.
And they get a call saying, we don't think she's going to live.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So, it wasn't until all the music was done and I had Ben listen to one song and he was like, whoa, let me hear another one. And my husband's a very good theater critic. And I was like, he works at Fifth Avenue Theater in downtown Seattle. He's mostly a stagehand and he's a designer and he's directed a lot of shows. He's directed me like 35 years ago, long time ago. And he listened to like the 4th song and I said, okay, the director thinks you're going to set design this. I have not asked you. You do not have to set design this. You want to hear the whole show?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he goes, yep. And I left the house. I went, here you go. And I left.
Right.
Because I just couldn't even, it's done. At that point, it's the egg shell was hard and we're gonna do it. And when I came home, he had the set design finished. He had all the little, he had a model for me and I was like, okay. And then I said, I'm going to make a guess. You don't want to run the show. He was like, nope. He has no desire to hear it over and over again. And he said, like about a month later, I was talking to him and he goes, I listened to your whole show dry-eyed. He's like, I listened to the whole thing and I thought, wow, this is really good. And then he watched Come From Away, which he hadn't seen. We've all seen Come From Away. If you don't know the show, it's a Broadway show about the 38 planes that landed on Gander on 9/11. So it's a beautiful, happy, but sad show. Not the same, not the same. He said he sobbed.
Right.
Through Come From Away. It was like his 6th time seeing it. But that's when he felt all the stuff from the show that I'd put together.
Yeah.
And I was like, And my daughter, we were back in Ireland. And I said to her, hey, David's asked me to write a passage in your words. You want to help me? She's like, well, can I be in the show? I was like, currently let's think about that a lot, but I don't know. I go, but if I were to do that, are you comfortable helping me? And do you want to pick the song that would happen right after you talk about what happened, or me, or whoever's doing it? And so we listened and we found this song and it's so beautiful. It's a lullaby. And it's by Kathy Ryan. And she and I listened to it, in Dingle, Ireland. And the two of us were just sobbing. And Maddie goes, that one.
Right.
And I went, yep. She goes, I never want to hear that song again. But she said, that's the song. And it is, because I played it for them. And we do it with just guitar and vocals. And part of me is like, I can do it live because I'm going to rehearse a lot to the point where I let the audience feel it. I feel it, but not to the point where I'm like, can't really sing, hang on. But Maddie did help me write the passage in her words.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be able to do that live?
Yep, I am. That's the power of rehearsal. You do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and then you can pull. That's thankfully, I'm theater artist for many years. Madeleine L'Engle, the author, she said it best. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to paraphrase her really badly. She said something like, you have to totally feel it while you're writing it. You can sit there at the typewriter and just sob your eyes out. But then you go back and rewrite that passage so that your audience can feel it.
Right.
And as an audiobook narrator, that's totally true. There's times where I get to like the fourth book and they kill my favorite person. And I'm like, I can totally do this. Chapter 14. There was blood. Nope, can't do it. Nope, can't do it. And I'll sit here and sob. I have to go out. And my dogs are like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, hang on, I'll be fine. I'm going to be okay. And then, of course, your throat gets all thick and you get the mucus. Right? And you're like, and you come back and you're like, I've got this. Chapter 14. Nope, don't got this. I think I took like a run of 5 one time. Yes, she did. She killed my favorite character. And I did finally get through it in a way that, again, you have just enough distance that you feel it, but you're not vocally all choked up and, singing.
And nasally.
Yeah. So, if you're going to do it 5 shows a week for 2 weeks or however long the run is, yeah.
Right.
You got to have that professional, you got to nail it and not nail it all at the same time.
That's a really good tip too for the rewriting it, because I know that I write even emails or stuff and I will have too much me in it.
Yeah.
And it needs to connect with the other people. And I know all of us heart-centered people. Oh, no pun intended.
No worries. Mine has jewelry now. I have bling in my heart. I'm a mechanical heart valve. It's Irish, no less. I was like, right. I came home with the coolest Irish souvenir.
It's with you forever. But making sure that it is going to hit them.
Yeah.
Which is what you had to do with your story. I can't imagine. Did you have to do too much rewriting, do you think? Not too much. I shouldn't say too much because it came out perfect, but
there was a lot.
And to turn it from a journal, because when you're talking about it, therapy, it feels very journally in my head.
A lot of stuff got pulled out, things that were just unnecessary. I think this particular show, it's 55 minutes now with talking and songs, 10 songs.
Nice.
And so it's pretty short, thankfully. Yeah. And I think we just removed stuff. Like occasionally David had me do a rewrite. Uh-huh. And my husband, when he did finally have some clarity, he had 2 rewrites. Great. Yeah. He's really good at that stuff. They're like, hey, you're saying it this way, but and a lot of it was removing some of me. What you just said, it was removing some of me out because it didn't need to be said. It had been said more eloquently. I didn't need to keep going.
Yeah.
So occasionally there was I mostly was just clearing away to get to the essence of what it needed to be. Mm-hmm. So to drilling down on that. And so there are changes from the audiobook to the stage play.
Yeah.
To the point where I can't use the audiobook to learn lines. Nope. And so funny, you'd think it'd be easy to learn my own stuff. I wrote it, right? Oh my goodness. So then I always go, but I had 2 strokes. No, I'm fine. I'm and I'm older too now. So the trick right now, and I'm already off book halfway through the show. Show's in 7 months. We did a full rehearsal process. The show is staged. It all got staged in March of this year.
Nice.
I guess that'd be last year now. Last March, we staged it. So it's got blocking, it's got, the scenery, we have the props, we have everything. And now I just literally have to get off book. And so I'm halfway there now, but I tell you, there will probably be a script somewhere on stage and a lot of sense of humor. Yeah. In case I'm like, and excuse me really quick.
Right.
But I'll find a way to make it really funny.
Yeah, because especially you lived it, so it's just I can get little flashbacks pop in. I'm sure of
so maybe
of
improv will take over. Yeah,
right. Yeah. As everybody on stage goes, shit, really?
Well, thankfully it's just me and the musicians, and as long as I don't go too far away on the songs, we should be just fine.
Yeah, you won't ruin their lives.
No. And I've known these musicians, man. Robertson Woodbert, Rob and I, we've only really worked together on this project, but I've known of him and of his wife, and I've known him. My husband worked at the Seattle Children's Theater with him for probably 15 years. Dave, who plays bass, He was on one of my first gigs when I was 21 in town.
Oh, that's
in Seattle.
amazing.
So it's just so cool to be, I mean, I've known these guys forever. And it's so lovely that they're part of it, and sound design and
such a personal story. I mean,
Yes.
there's nothing that could get more personal than dying.
And if they hadn't heard the show.
Oh yeah, how did they do with that?
Rob had, because he did sound design, right? So Rob, of course. And so he did the full sound design for it, because all the hospital beeping and things like that, really cool sounds. And then Dave Pascal listened after we did a CD launch, like like people use CDs anymore. We have CDs, but we had a CD launch last summer in June, and he listened on the way home. And he sent me an email going, "Whoa.
Yeah.
When are we going to Europe?" Like, okay. I think we need to go.
Right?
And we're gonna do it here in Seattle too. I need to find the right venue and the right timing. Because the other thing is, I don't want to exhaust myself. As you'd brought up, I have a chronic illness, and I have to manage that. And one of the things I'm not supposed to do is get my blood pressure over. Well, my heart rate when cycling should stay around 145. I can occasionally take it to 160 if I'm going to do like a test. And I used a cycling coach for a while and my cardiologist. So I was too terrified without them saying, it's okay, you can do it. Theater can be similar. When you're standing on stage and you get that adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure's going up.
Right.
So one of the things I'm going to do is take my metoprolol before the show. I mean, how silly. Some people, do the heavy, bad for you drugs to get on stage. No, I don't need those. But I'm going to need my BP meds, apparently. and breathe. Yeah, breathing and meditation.
And I was just thinking of that because you heard me before I had just gotten off a call.
Right.
That's not even on stage, but I was all jacked up. I wish I would have looked to see what my heart rate was, but I can't even imagine. How do you keep your heart rate as somebody who's excitable?
I am a Muppet. All of my branding is a Muppet because, yes. I know. And I think some of that's going to be the balance of great performance. And maybe, to be perfectly honest, I probably have directors from 30 years ago be like, she's finally calm enough to know.
I know, right?
You can imagine
I got do this before.
Can you slow down a little bit? Maybe go a little slower. Can you slow all of that? In fact, just don't speak. No, I didn't get that note. But, I was told to slow down maybe a few thousand times as a young actor. Yeah. And same with audiobook work. Well, doing voice work will automatically slow everybody down.
Right.
It just does. We're working in our voice all day. We can hear when it's too slow. We can hear when it's too fast, and we can adjust it. So the good news is all that voiceover work helps on stage. Helps with timing. And I did get a note from David at one point. Hey, can you pick that up? And I was like, are you kidding?
Right.
Yes. And of course, recently I got that note from someone else and I did it for him. He goes, whoa, you took that note and maybe half that? Okay.
I had somebody email me one day after they took one of my workshops, and they're just like, so just in case anybody else needs to know this, do not watch your videos on 1.5 speed. I'm like, lady, why would you ever consider that? I'm like, I'm a blah, 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 blah. I'm like, there's no way you would understand it.
I used to slow all my voiceover gigs. The first year I did voiceover, I slowed both books down by 0.5. In the editing software. And it was really, really helpful. So I don't do that anymore, but I cheated then.
Well, because then it also helped you learn, okay, this is how I need to speak.
Exactly.
This is the correct speed. Not the one God gave me. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. As you can see, we did not finish that interview during that time. There was so much great information going on that we are going to split this up, and you will hear the rest of the interview with Shana next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Val Full Volume. If you are done spinning in circles and procrastinating, check out my quick workshop, 14 Biz Actions. Action creates change. Now go out there and create the biz of your dreams.